Welcome to Interesting Enough. He is Trey. I am Nolan. Thank you guys so much for joining us once again. If this is your first time listening to the podcast, thank you. Of course, check us out on Apple, Spotify. We got YouTube Shorts, all that good stuff. Trey, man, it's been about a week or so, man. How you feeling? What's going on?
Man, I'm feeling great, man. How you feeling? You came off a big vacation, so I really should be asking you how you feeling.
Yeah, man, it was fun. So, we had a family vacation, Colombia, so I had never been there. That was super fun.
Where's Colombia at? I have to ask, not for me, but for the audience, of course.
Well, it's in South America, so if they hadn't done basic elementary geometry or geography, yeah, it's in South America. So, never been to South America. I've only actually been out of the country only a couple times. So that was such a good time. We had it planned for probably 6 months in advance, and it was exactly what you think. It was hot. We was on the water doing a bunch of stuff. We did a little bit of snorkeling. We saw one of Pablo Escobar's old planes, sunk at the bottom. It was it was fun. It was fun. It was a good time. It was just a lot of water stuff, man. I will say we went out a couple times in Colombia. It was fun. There was definitely two different sides of Colombia. You get the more Hispanic side, nice vibe, and then you get side with more American music that was, had a different energy. I'm gonna just say that. So it was good. Colombia was a good time. I will say this though. I know you in the West Coast, so we could probably mention some of the, I don't want to say pandering, but when I say dudes is hustling in Colombia, that it's an understatement. I don't know if it's, I wasn't briefed on it that much beforehand, and I don't know if it's all the South America thing and stuff like that. But bro, you can't go anywhere in anything, and dudes is hounding you about buying this and buying that, and I'll take you this place, I'll take you that place, everything for money. It don't matter what it is. Now your money goes a long way. Obviously, the U.S. dollar is stronger, so you bring a couple $100 and you basically ball. You know what I mean? For spending money, it's not even that big of a deal. But man, it's everything. As soon as you step out the hotel, man, it's hey, you need taxi, man, you need this, you need that. You down the street, people asking you to buy this. It's just a million vendors. So it's like New York on steroids. That's the only thing I didn't really realize it. It definitely took a couple of days to kind of, it probably took a day to get used to all right, this is just this is what life is. Every time you walk in the house, it's basically it's almost as if you was a celebrity as paparazzi. But it was crazy. It was crazy.
I don't know what's that about, because like you said, you don't really see that generally in the South, at least in the Southern, the real South, you and I grew up in. You don't really see that a lot, but you do see that a little bit on the West Coast too. People hey man, I got some t-shirts, or I'm playing the drums, could you lend me $5, or I'm playing a guitar, what's your favorite song, that kind of thing. They're just hustling. They're out here to get it, man.
Oh, so they coming up to you with the song request. It ain't even the old school just playing and then having no.
Sometimes they come with you. If it's a big event, let's say a couple times I went to a baseball game here or something, they'll come with you a request or whatever.
What you say?
Oh, I keep it moving. Listen, I'm gonna say this too. That's the one thing I've learned up here. I don't think it's to be mean, but it's just the one thing that everybody tells you when you come up here. If you don't want to be bothered, just keep it moving.
Right. So, and we come from the South, so Southern hospitality. So it's kind of
it feels so awkward. Yeah.
To just walk by somebody and not say anything. Yeah, I realize when you go up north, even when you just go up north in the States, that's that energy. People just walk and get what they need to get to. It could be a homeless person asking for money. People just walk about. You know what I'm saying?
Oh, they ain't playing.
Yeah, they're not playing. So you kind of actually had to get to a point in Colombia. Initially, I was trying to not really have a conversation with everybody, but at least I wanted to say each time, okay, no, thank you, or whatever, or, appreciate it. But as soon as you open that door, it's, oh, what's your name? Let's talk about this. Look, my friend, this is what we have for you. Everything is bro, and a lot of times, we went on a couple excursions. So we actually are on a time crunch. We got to get somewhere at a certain time. So it's not even just because I'm not wanting to talk. It's just I actually just can't. So but yeah, dudes don't really take no for an answer that. There's, you want to learn sales 101, you go out to Colombia, I promise you can get right. And you got guys calling you, barely speaking English, calling me bro, trying to whatever, they trying to figure it out, man. But I respect the hustle at the same time. So, but it was definitely a good time. But while we was gone, man, we obviously missed a bunch of stuff, but not too many things happened in the sports world that was super, super notable. But I know we get a little messy in here. We got to talk about
let's get messy.
We got to talk about the baseball fight. And I know you're not a big baseball guy, and most people listening to this aren't big baseball fans, but they had to see it on social media. Tim Anderson, which is a guy, Trey, we actually talked about on this podcast, like a year? We probably talked about him last year with the whole Josh Donaldson thing and the supposedly racist comment that had happened. So we actually talked about him. So,
And I think we mentioned him when he said he was the Jackie Robinson of baseball. I think we talked about that too.
Yeah, we talked about him. That was a couple years ago. So yeah, we talked about Tim Anderson a couple of times. I'm a fan of his. I went up to Chicago a couple months back, saw him at a White Sox game. He didn't play well, but it was fun to watch. But he got to fight.
I saw him a couple months ago too. That's who Seattle Mariners are playing.
Oh, that was on the White Sox. Okay, so that's funny. Yeah, that's just random. Yeah, so we saw Tim Anderson too. So that's pretty cool. But yeah, so we really got like, even if Trey not being a big baseball fan, he's at least seen Tim Anderson. We talked about him, but so I'm not gonna say that's our guy, but it did kind of feel a type of way seeing him getting kind of knocked out there for a second. I want to say, okay, I shouldn't say knocked out, but he got caught. He got caught slipping by Jose Ramirez.
Oh no, he got dropped because he was wobbling. Like, I don't know if you saw the end of it when they were trying to carry him and he was stumbling. I'm like, oh no, I didn't realize it was that bad.
So that's the thing I was going for. So let's go in that direction first, because I saw him get back up, and you know that initial when he's getting held by the teammates. Was it just me, or like, you get dropped, you kind of want to go back at the person. But it didn't feel like he really 100% wanted to go back at him that badly. Like, you know what I mean? Like, it didn't feel like he was putting a lot of force into that. But you think it's just because he was wobbling?
Could he? Yeah, no, I think there's a second angle. I think it wasn't ESPN, maybe it was Fox.
The slow-mo is crazy, but yeah.
No, not even the slow-mo, like him walking back to the dugout where the team, like they had the arms around him and his leg is giving out. And it was when I saw that second angle when he was walking back, I'm like, oh, it's not that you didn't want to go back. It's like you can't go back.
Right. Man, it was just tough. And the worst part about it is, too, is one, he's going to get clowned on the internet for it because he did. But second, man, Jose Ramirez was just swinging wildly. It wasn't even looking, bro. It just caught him. Like, it wasn't even like it was calculated. Like, I don't know if you remember there was the baseball one a couple years back with the guy Jose Bautista that got like really rocked by that one dude.
No, he got rocked.
Like that. Now, if you're talking about that situation, and for those who don't know, maybe we'll drop a clip of that, but he got actually rocked. Like the dude was like squared him up, looked dead at him, and rocked him. This one was more like Jose Ramirez. The other guy was just kind of like flailing his arms, and then he kind of just got lucky and caught one.
And it didn't even look like it was that hard of a hit because, like you said, he was just pulling his arms, and it was coming down. It was kind of like a swipe. It didn't look like a full-on punch, but I guess it hit him in that right spot in the jaw.
Mm-hmm.
And hey, man, it did work because he went down. Like if you see him fall, he just felt like a sack of potatoes. Like he went limp.
Yeah, no, it was not great. And also, the funny thing that was surprising to me that it didn't get talked about too much. If you see the initial thing, Trey, it's like the umpire trying to break it up. Nobody peeped that the umpire was just like Tim Anderson was like, "Hey, move out the way, we got to fight," and the umpire was like, "Okay, y'all got it." The umpire.
But hey. The umpire did move back, but I like that was the umpire. That was your brother that seen some things. I think like he heard something that was said real quick. He's like, "Oh no, this going down. I can't do nothing."
yeah. I think that's what it was. So he's like, "Wait." He said, "What do you?" "Oh no, go ahead and handle that." That's what that was. He like, "Yeah, you got to go ahead and handle that." Like, and then the second part about it is how many times do we talk about these fights in sports, whether it's basketball, but especially baseball. Like every time we see baseball, you know how it is. They just they come out the dugouts. It's usually just a bunch of talking, a bunch of nothing going on. Like, usually a guy really only gets maybe one or two like swings in before like the whole pod just takes you. It was just me. If that, it wasn't just me. They had a long time to like really square up, size each other up, multiple swings before anybody really like grabbed them. And I feel like the people that were next to him directly, like I feel like they had to grab him for show, but I feel like they wasn't really trying to like break it up. They was like, all right, let him get a couple hits in first, and then we'll kind of see. That was the thing that was surprising to me.
How often in sports do you actually see people actually squaring up? Like, I'm not even saying you might even see a punch thrown, but you rarely, if ever, see anybody square up.
Yeah,
these two squared up with each other. Like I thought one of them was Jake Paul. Like I just didn't know. Like they were really coming out there like, oh yeah, this is what we get paid to do, to fight.
Yeah, they had a whole like they dropped the gloves, like literally like dropped their baseball gloves and was like, let's do it. And yeah, Tim Anderson caught him, man, and that stinks for him. And obviously the suspensions and all that stuff happened. Now, I don't know if you saw the tweet, but Tim Anderson did tweet. I think he deleted it now. But
he deleted it.
Okay, yeah. So he did tweet. And okay, can we just for 1 second? The whole thing with the tweeting and deleting, as if people are not going to like screenshot that and not be a thing. Like
I don't understand that either.
It's almost pointless to me. I'd be like, you might as well just keep it up because we're all still going to see it. And then all they're going to do is just actually some sites are not even going to put the little footnote that it's actually deleted now. They're just going to post it as if it's still there. So I'm like, it's almost like pointless. But I guess it's like maybe more of a story about just being too reactionary in certain situations to like hop on Twitter, which is again a thing that I would never really understand. Like people are upset and they just like go to Twitter to vent. But I mean, I guess if you get embarrassed on like national TV and get knocked out, I'm sure you may want to defend yourself. But I mean, he deleted the tweet and essentially was like, "Hey, we'll see them again." I mean, now Trey, I mean, what's the protocol? Because like, I feel like he has to kind of see him again, but like we know the league isn't gonna really like let nothing really happen. So like, does he have to just cause a quick commotion or like I don't even know what he does.
Quick commotion. Like you ain't got to start fighting, but you got to say something, wag your finger at him. Like you just got to show him, like, hey man, I'm about it. At least we already know you're not gonna fight. We know the league's not gonna let you fight. You're not gonna want to get another suspension. So like everybody understands that you're not actually gonna swing at him, but you got to at least put on a show that you're not backing down.
Because I also think too, I'm sure the league talks to him. If they even fight again, it's probably a big, severe penalty, fine, whatever the case may be. So like, cooler heads kind of got to prevail there too, right? I mean,
yeah, I think he got suspended, Tim Anderson, 6 games. So like, if he does this again, you know he's going to get like at least 10 games, if not more. So like, I don't think there's going to be any redos.
And I mean, well, to be fair, I mean the White Sox are one of the worst teams in baseball anyway. So it's almost the end of the season. So I don't think it'd be the worst thing in the world if you did get suspended. But you know, it's different though because he's not a pitcher. At least if it's a pitcher, you know he'll have to face him again, and like then you could kind of throw at him and like call something. It's not really a lot of situations where they're even going to be really next to each other unless he's like on second base again, I guess, or something like that. And who knows at that point. But I feel like he got to get his lick back. But like that don't even really count as getting your lick back if you just kind of got to like do some talking. But like you said, he really don't got no other option. It's unfortunate for him. So, but man, I hated to see that happen to TA, man. But I'm still a fan. I like his game a lot. But that was a tough one to watch. But anyway, let's get into some football, Trey, because preseason's here. You know, first of all, I saw my boy Zach Thomas got inducted to the Hall of Fame, so that was cool. So preseason is here, man. Trey, I did. Oh, by the way, we didn't even talk about this, but I did catch the first episode of Hard Knocks, the Jets. I just wanted to see what was.
Is that popping. HBO?
That's HBO. So yeah, that's HBO.
Okay, I might have to catch that. Yeah, I haven't seen it yet.
Yeah, wasn't it's Hard Knocks. It wasn't like I thought the last year's Lions ones was really cool. They was just featuring like basically Sauce Gardner and the people you expect, Garrett Wilson and Aaron Rodgers. So that was kind of cool. Nothing like super big takeaways from it other than these guys just mentoring Zach Wilson. But anyway, let's get into speaking of the quarterbacks. We saw the Mike Sando article on the Athletic with the quarterback tiers, and if anybody didn't see this, I didn't think it was terrible, but if anybody didn't see it. This guy releases every single year the quarterback tiers. Kind of, I try to do something similar with the basketball players for people that listen to the podcast regularly. So he basically tiered the quarterbacks into, I think it's either 4 or 5 tiers. It's 4 tiers. He tiered them in, and you can kind of go check them out yourselves. The first tier is pretty obvious, with Mahomes, Burrow, Allen, Rodgers, and then Herbert. But I'll kind of swing it to you, Trey. In general, I mean, I thought the list. There's a couple things I can nitpick at, but I thought in general it was a pretty accurate tier list. What was like the main thing when you first saw it and you were like, that's crazy, that's just ridiculous?
I mean, so I'm not gonna put Patrick Mahomes is in his own tier. I'm okay with that. I'm not mad at that.
Well, no, he's in tier 1. I mean,
but
he's
I'm just saying,
on tier 1.
Yeah. So I'm just saying he can be up there.
Okay.
We got Justin Herbert up there.
Like, yeah, he is number 5. Yeah.
I like Herbert. I really think he's one of the best up-and-coming quarterbacks in the league right now. What has he done up to this point? We have Josh Allen up there, which I think, he's my second favorite player in the NFL. You know this.
Yeah,
number
that's
3.
Your boy, yeah.
Yeah, number 3. I feel like Josh Allen's starting to get a little bit in the overrated status. So it's not so much he had like any big outliners where I'm like, I just vehemently disagree with you. But I think he's overrated a couple people. And then even then, to end it all off, I like Jalen Hurts, but like somehow he makes it.
Jalen Hurts. So
hold on, he had 1 good year, Nolan.
But I mean, okay, hold on.
It was a good year, but he had 1 good year.
No, it wasn't a good year. It was a great year. Like be fair. Like this wasn't just a regular good year. Okay, and just for people following along. So in the first tier, there was only 5 quarterbacks. It was Mahomes, Burrow, Josh Allen, Aaron Rodgers, and Herbert. So that's what Trey was referencing. Jalen Hurts just missed the first tier. So he's in tier 2, and he's number 6. So you got, and going in order, you have Jalen Hurts, Lamar Jackson, Trevor Lawrence, Dak Prescott, Matthew Stafford, Deshaun Watson, and Kirk Cousins. So that's tier 2. So are you saying...
Would you pick Jalen Hurts over any of those guys you just named in tier 2? Maybe Trevor Lawrence just because he's young. But out of all the other guys.
The only person that I would not pick him over is I'm a Lamar Jackson guy. But I'm a Jalen Hurts guy. You know that. I picked Jalen Hurts as a dark horse MVP last year. So I'm a Jalen Hurts
right.
guy.
I like Jalen Hurts. Like, I'm going to give you that. I know you're a Jalen Hurts guy. I like him.
Yeah. So I'm probably the wrong person to ask with that. But, okay. So here's my question. Is your argument that he should not be in tier 2 or he should be lower in tier 2?
Lower in tier 2. Listen, I'm not going to take tier 2 away from him because at the end of the day, he did lead his team to the Super Bowl. And they were in striking distance of winning that Super Bowl. I mean, if it was one pass interference call not made, we could be looking at this a whole different way. You know what I mean? He could be in tier 1. So I'm not going to take that away from him. But I'm just saying, like, is he better than Lamar Jackson? Is he better than Matthew Stafford? I know Stafford had a bad year last year, but, like, is he really better? Is he even better than Kirk? He had a great year last year, and
Come on now, Trey. Come on.
All right. I was a good quarterback. Nolan. Kirk Cousins is a good quarterback. Is he not?
I'm not saying.
I didn't say great. I said he's a good quarterback. Is he not?
He's not better than Jalen Hurts, Trey. You and I. If you start a team, you picking Kirk Cousins over Jalen Hurts? Like, let's just get to the nitty gritty.
Okay. Yeah. No. I'm not even saying this to be contrarian.
Don't do this.
No. It's a good chance that I might, just because, hear me out. At least hear me out. I don't know if Jalen Hurts is going to be able to repeat anything similar next year. I don't know if that was just an outlier year. Like, I'm not really certain.
Okay. So
it's kind of like how guys talk about Lamar Jackson, even though I think he's shown enough at this point, but a lot of people like to say, well, that 2019 MVP year, that was just an outlier. I really think that's a possibility that was just the case with Jalen Hurts. I hope I'm wrong. But I feel like that might be a possibility.
Can I just real quick? Let me make the case as just devil's advocate for Jalen Hurts on his behalf. I'm his representative right now. Okay.
Mm-hmm.
Here's the Jalen Hurts case. Actually, I'll give you even a couple points against Jalen Hurts. You made a good point. It's 1 year. Second, he had basically probably the best roster in the NFL when you consider offensive line, weapons, all that good stuff. He had a structure that set up for him. Here's my argument for Jalen Hurts, though. At every point in his career, every single year, Jalen Hurts has gotten better. Right or wrong. Yeah. He's gotten better every single year. So at this point, doubting him that he would be at least the same, if not getting better, I'm going to probably take the money on he's going to get better because he's not proving me anything else. Second, he's improved throwing the football exponentially, especially when you add A.J. Brown and throwing the deep passes and stuff like that, something that people didn't think that he could do coming into the league. He's improved on that. And the third thing, which for some reason we either overvalue or undervalue when it comes to quarterbacks, the rushing ability that he gives you and the threat there to begin with is really outside of Lamar Jackson and Josh Allen. I mean, he's basically the other guy that does that well. So when you consider Kirk Cousins, a guy that is not mobile, that is older, that basically is at his ceiling, I'm gonna take Jalen Hurts as the better player. Not only in projections, but if you even say for 1 year, I'm gonna still take that guy. And I'm gonna take him over Dak Prescott, who I like Dak Prescott. I think he's a solid quarterback. But at the same time, him with the interceptions, he's really only had excellent seasons. I can make the same argument for Dak Prescott that I can with Jalen Hurts because Dak Prescott's best years have basically come when he's had the great offensive line and the great Ezekiel Elliott years and the great running game. So Dak Prescott's never been able to do it where he's just the guy and just relying on him. And neither has Jalen Hurts. So if you ask me between those, I can see a similar argument. But the only reason I say the Lamar Jackson over Jalen Hurts is because he's actually won an MVP. And I think he doesn't just run with the ball. He's just special when he has the ball in his hand. So that's the only difference to me.
And I you know what? I have to get it to you, correct. That's a great point. I just want to end it on this, though. The way I look at Jalen Hurts, the only thing that concerns me is that it can possibly be like a Carson Wentz scenario. Minus the injuries, of course, where he had that one stellar year where it's looking like, oh, man, he's going to win the MVP. Unfortunately, in Carson Wentz's case, he got hurt, but then he was never able to replicate that year again. Right. And that's the only concern I have with Jalen Hurts. I think if I had to be a betting man, I think he does improve, and I don't think that this is a ceiling for him. But if my job is on the line and I'm a GM and I'm starting a team, I think that I would pick the more conservative route and just go with Kirk Cousins just because I know what I'm getting at the end of the day. It's not a question mark.
I mean, I don't know, man. I just, there's not a world where I watch Kirk Cousins and watch Jalen Hurts, and I'm gonna pick Kirk Cousins. I just can't. Like, and look, he looked good at the quarterback on the Netflix series and all that. I'm cool with him. You feel me? Like, I'm more of a Kirk Cousins fan than I probably will ever be. But nah, I'm not picking him. And I did want to say real quick, just going back up to tier 1. I'm really conflicted on the Justin Herbert situation. And here's why. And obviously, let's get the obvious out the way. Yeah, the Dolphins probably should have drafted him. We have Tua, and I like Tua. But yeah, we probably should have had Herbert. But ignoring that, Herbert is such an anomaly to me because he's the number 5 quarterback on the tier list, and he made tier 1. And I'm hearing all the talk about Justin Herbert. And there's really an argument that could be made that, hey, this guy's actually really overrated. Look, his teams haven't really won much. You know, he was a part of a big blown playoff loss with a huge, obviously with a huge lead. We all know about that against Jacksonville. And he hasn't really had a lot of the team success. But then I can look at the other way and be like, well, look, man, if you got 2 eyes and you watch Justin Herbert play, he's special. And he's got talent on his roster, but that defense has been underperforming. He probably doesn't have a very good coach. And it's
he does not have a very good coach.
Right. So where do you sit on the Justin Herbert thing? Because, I mean, I could wake up tomorrow and I feel I'm on the overrated scale. And then I wake up the next day and I feel like I'm on the underrated scale. Like, I just am not sure where I'm at with him.
I'm with you. I kind of fluctuate on it. The only thing I would say, just from the wider media standpoint, like the wider media, I just don't understand how they decide who's going to be like a top player, but it's just not in a good situation, and then who's a player that's maximized all their potential, and this is all you're going to get. Because like Lamar Jackson, for example, I don't think he's ever had an offensive system outside of Greg Roman that's really been able to utilize his throwing ability, and I don't think he's had the weapons. But a lot of people kind of write him off and say, we've already seen the best that we're going to get out of Lamar Jackson. Right. Where Justin Herbert in this case is kind of like, well, he doesn't have the greatest weapons in the world. He doesn't have the greatest coach in the world. So, like, he's only going to improve. I guess from my standpoint, I'm just asking a question. Like, how do we decide who's at fault in these situations? Because, I mean, I know I just use Lamar Jackson's name, but, like, then there's other guys like Deshaun Watson where it's like, he's missed a year and a half or whatever. And then people are still treating him like he's going to come back and be like the cream of the crop as far as quarterbacks go. When last year, he didn't show us anything. So I guess it just leads to a greater question. Like, how are we doing this?
I think from what Mike Sando was saying, it's more of projection as well, I think. And second, with the Deshaun Watson thing, to be fair, that was a tough situation to come into, albeit no one's defending him. I mean, this is a situation that he created. But in terms of to play that last half of the year, not have much reps and stuff like that after the suspension, I think people, because of what he's shown before, he can get a mulligan for that. And to be real, Trey, I mean, he's still in his prime of his career. He's probably, 26 years old, something like that.
Yeah, so he still should be in the prime of his career, yeah.
Right. I don't think he's lost, he's in an athletic prime. And what we saw from him before that, however you feel about Deshaun Watson, on the football field was special. And I just can't believe that the guy, he can't go from, like, special to just, like, a bottom-tier quarterback. Like, I just think that's impossible. So I think he's somewhere in the middle. I think ranking him at tier 2 is just based on the reputation. I'm okay with that one. I'm okay with that one for the most part, because when I look at tier 3, I mean, you got Kyler Murray, Derek Carr, Jared Goff. I mean, Russell Wilson lucky in tier 3 after the year he just had. So, I mean, he could probably be fine as is. But, Daniel Jones, Geno Smith, it's kind of like when I read those names, however you feel about Deshaun, Trey, he's not with those guys. He's not with the Daniel Jones, Jimmy Garoppolo's, Tua, and Jared Goff. Like, that's just not – I don't think that would be fair to put him there too. So, like, I think he's somewhere pretty accurate. I think for the bottom half of the league is kind of just is what that is. I think so. There's some guys that can make a move, but yeah, I mean, I don't know. The Deshaun one is the iffy one to me. I see how you feel about Jalen Hurts, because Trey, can I be real? What you said about Jalen Hurts, I could probably make an argument he could have been in the tier 1 at number 5 instead of Justin Herbert. Like, I could legitimately
honestly,
made an
just
argument
based off what we've seen. Because again, I give a lot to having long playoff runs. I give a lot of credence to that. I think he probably deserves that.
Right. You know what I mean? Like, I think the Jalen Hurts one is funny too, because I can go with your argument and be like, hey, he's probably a little high. He could probably be on tier 2 but lower. But then the argument, I could spin it and be like, hey, why is Justin Herbert ahead of him? Justin Herbert didn't lead his team to the Super Bowl. Justin Herbert didn't finish second in MVP voting. You know what I mean? So I think it just gets interesting.
And I don't want to get too long-winded on this topic, but I do want to add one other thing I didn't like about the tier myself. I think that I don't think he has enough tiers. Like, I think Patrick Mahomes should be tier 1. And then even if you want to call it tier 1B or tier 1A, whatever you want to say, I think then you can talk about the Josh Allens and the possibly Herberts and these other guys. I think it was like Mahomes at tier 1 to me. And then tier 2 would have been like Josh Allen, even though I say he does have his faults. And then Joe Burrow. And then tier 3 to me would have been like Herbert, Lamar, Hurts, and then, name whoever else you want to put in there.
The only reason I say those guys got to be in tier 1 is just because at the end of the day, Joe Burrow has beaten Mahomes like 3 times. Josh Allen's beaten him a couple times. I think Aaron Rodgers gets it off of the reputation. Those are the guys I feel like they can still be on the same level. Mahomes is he's a by far number 1. Like, he's a unanimous number 1, but doesn't mean that other guys here's my best argument I can say. On the right or wrong, but on the right day, Trey, Justin Herbert, Aaron Rodgers, Josh Allen, and Joe Burrow can play just as well or outperform Mahomes in a 1-game scenario. Like,
no,
all the time. Those guys are that good. So that
I'll give you that. No, because we've seen that even in the playoffs where Josh Allen has at least matched Patrick Mahomes' level. Maybe not even outplayed him, but he's matched him.
Right. So I think that's the argument why they're in tier 1. But anyway, we'll let people check out the tiers for themselves. I mean, it's pretty interesting for the most part. So you can kind of see where guys stack up, and we'll actually be leading on this a lot as we get into the NFL season and kind of rank the teams and figure out who's going to win divisions and stuff like that. But Trey, on the way out, I want to mention, and the NBA Hall of Fame ceremony was yesterday. I still got to catch up on some of the speeches. I did miss some of it, so I'm going to go back and watch it. But these are guys we grew up watching. Whether it's, Tony Parker, Dirk, obviously D Wade, Pau Gasol, with the notables, but then of course you got Coach Pop, Becky Hammond. I just wanted to hear your general thoughts if you want to give on a couple guys, because these are guys we grew up with, and we saw their greatness firsthand from early on in their career to the prime to the end. What's your memories, specifically with a couple of these guys?
I don't want to get stuck in the memories with these particular guys. What I do want to say that it brought to light to me was just kind of like this era that we grew up with is slowly coming to an end.
Feel old.
I think that's what hit me. It's like, Carmelo retired last year. LeBron, I guess he's coming back this year. He's obviously had some other issues since then, but he's probably getting ready to hang him up. Durant, how much longer does he have? How much longer does Curry have? Like, it's like Blake Griffin's pretty much done as far as the career goes. It's like, this is coming to an end. Like, these guys that we grew up with watching. I remember just watching 06 finals, fall in love with Dwayne Wade, and it's just like, hold on, you made the Hall of Fame?
Right.
Like, it's coming to an end. So that's just the first thing that came to my mind. But like, as far as favorite memories, of course, I'm at the side with Wade, just from his the way he attacked the paint and just his style of play. He was just it was a little bit more flashy than Tony Parker, Dirk Nowitzki, or Paul Gasol. No disrespect to them, but I just really enjoyed the way he played the game.
I mean, I agree with basically everything you said there. I mean, those guys all had remarkable careers, and for various reasons. And yeah, Trey, we getting old. That's basically all basically what you said is correct. We just basically getting old, and that's what it makes me realize. I'm not going to really go into the Wade argument because obviously people know how I feel about that. And yeah, I'm still standing on that. People that are talking to me about the James Harden versus Wade conversations, I'm not trying to hear none of that. So I'm not even going to get into that. That's ridiculous. You didn't watch D-Wade. You're too young. You didn't see enough. But Dirk, it's still hard for me to talk about Dirk, Trey. Him beating us in the finals, I just have this relationship with Dirk. If D-Wade's cool with him now, I guess I could be cool with him. But the Dirk thing always going to hurt. But was so great. But I wanted to highlight Tony Parker. And here's why I wanted to highlight him specifically. In an era where he played with Tim Duncan, the greatest power forward ever. Don't at me. He is the greatest power forward ever. Tony Parker was an anomaly. We talk about our favorite point guards now, Trey, and usually they're either two things. They're one, an excellent or great shooter, i.e. Steph Curry, Dame Lillard, maybe Steve Nash. or a super athlete and attacking the rim. Derrick Rose, Russell Westbrook, John Morant, and nowadays, John Walls, all those guys. Tony Parker was neither of those two, but yet he was great, and in certain scenarios, just as great as some of those other guys when he matched up against them. I mean, a guy that was so good at finishing around the rim with the spin move on the floater. I mean, we've all seen it a million times. Can hit a mid-range jump shot, can run the point guard position, and I think he was the perfect running mates to Manu and to Tim Duncan. And I think when you look back at that era in the 2000s, you're going to mention a lot of point guards that were great in that era, rightly so. And I'm glad he got his due, because sometimes he could be forgetting about, even at the time. Like if I would have named, I would be like, hey, name the top 5 point guards in the league. You'd probably name a list of me at that time and it probably wouldn't have Tony Parker on it. But like when I mentioned Tony Parker, you're like, hey, I got to give him his respect. He was tough. So Tony Parker's a guy that gets sometimes forgotten about in history. He's not going to be a top 75 guy or anything like that. But man, he was a handful to deal with. And I can tell you from being a Heat fan firsthand, when LeBron has to go guard you one-on-one because nobody else, including D-Wade at that older age, D-Wade couldn't stop him, that's how you know Tony Parker was tough. When they said, hey, LeBron, you got to come guard this guy one-on-one. That's when you know you're special. So I want to give Tony Parker love for that, because out of all those guys, I think he gets forgotten about a lot. And then, of course, Pau Gasol, Trey, we've heard it talked about a little bit, but what he did for Kobe's career is it can't be overstated, because we could have seen Kobe's career go a lot differently after Shaq and maybe not get those couple of rings, but Pau Gasol was exactly what Kobe needed. And I think Kobe was exactly what Pau Gasol needed as well. I love that their careers are linked forever. And a lot of people don't know, Trey, the kids that are younger, Pau Gasol was giving people a workout with the Grizzlies before the Lakers. Like, he was giving people with the business. So he was tough. So I'm glad he got his due too. But I love watching that Hall of Fame class, go in. So now, what do you think, Trey? I mean, this got to be at least one of the top Hall of Fame classes ever, though, right? I mean, like, when you talk about the names at the top, right? I mean, I know a couple years ago they had the Shaq one with, I think, AI and stuff like that. But I mean, as far as your star power, I mean, there's MVPs in here, there's Finals MVPs, there's champions. It doesn't really get too much better than that.
No, I think this is definitely one of the top classes that we've seen, at least in recent memory. Again, it does help that these are guys that we grew up with, so we might be a little bit biased just because we saw firsthand the accomplishments that they were able to achieve. But definitely, man, you're talking about even Becky Hammond. I believe she got inducted into the Hall of Fame, and what she was able to do as far as female basketball, but also men's basketball, being one of the top assistants with the Spurs. That's a great accomplishment, being one of the first female top assistants in the NBA. So I do believe that in many ways this is one of the greatest Hall of Fame classes that we've seen. But you know what? We'll be saying this again next year.
Yeah. There's a lot of guys coming up next year, so it'll be fun. And the couple years ago, 2021, I mean, Kobe, KG, Tim Duncan, I mean, that was special too. So,
and I think now being obviously, we know how the Kobe story ended. I think that added even more to that Hall of Fame class.
Yeah, that one definitely felt special for multiple reasons outside of basketball. So, but anyway, I want to thank everybody so much for joining us once again. We're glad to do this podcast with you as usual. Of course, we're going to drop this for you. Check for it on IG, on Facebook, anywhere you get all this content. Obviously, we're on Apple, we're on Spotify. We got a lot of content for you coming up. This is going to be for mainly, I guess we can call it more of our sports heads. And we got a lot of stuff we want to talk about. That's non-sports. I know people are looking forward to. So keep an eye out for that. That way you can get a little bit of a different flavor depending on what you like going on. And I'll swing it to Trey.
Again, guys, thank you so much for joining us today. We really do appreciate the time that you guys spend out your day to listen to us. If you have any suggestions, feel free, hit me and Nolan up. We can talk about any topics that you want us to talk about. But until next week, peace.
Peace.